Zips to introduce himself.
Appreciate it. Yeah, hi guys. I'm Zips. I'm the developer of Solar Farm. Essentially, I develop the dApp, the contracts, and pretty much everything, excluding the metaverse and the bots that we use in our within our main Telegram. However, I do obviously advise over and oversee both of those things. So, yeah, I'm the main developer, and yeah, we can pass over to Char.
Yo, guys, what's up? I'm the official marketer for Solar Farm. I've been marketing since day one, since V1. Usually DeFi Gorilla helps me with marketing, but right now he's facing some issues, family issues. He's facing a divorce. Right now I'm handling all all the marketing regards all the inquiries. I have a bachelor's degree in marketing and advertising. I have good experience in this sort of area. I'm looking to implement the best and most useful way in our V2 miners so that we could achieve the biggest goals. Yeah, that's it.
Sounds lovely. So is this everybody that joined us from the team today?
This is
yeah, so
14 members.
myself, Zip, and Char.
We're missing DeFi Gorilla, however.
Yeah, I heard about this already, but thank you very much for introducing yourself. I think the main person I will speak to is Alexander, if I'm not wrong. So let's jump into it.
Myself and Zips as well, because Zips also sort of has a lot of influence in terms of development and running the protocol as well.
Perfect. So maybe can you just give me a short introduction to the project? Just if I would never have heard about it, what are the key factors that you would tell a person before they get into doing their research and to invest into your project? What are the key aspects your project delivers to the market?
Okay, cool. So to start off with, what we are is a miner, and to introduce the concept of miner, it's not a token. So how it works is you take BNB and you go to our app.solarfarm.finance, and you deposit the BNB to receive solar panels. And these solar panels, they then go to power. And once you have this power, you have two options. Either you can compound that power to make more solar panels, which would then give you more power per day, so increase that passive income. Or you can cash out some of your power and you receive BNB back. So that's how a miner works. Now, a lot of people ask, why this miner concept? Why is this a thing? And you've got to think fundamentally, when it comes to normal tokens need liquidity, right? So if you're trading a token, there's always an LP pair. And there's a lot of problems with that in the sense that you need to, incentivize liquidity for your protocol, and that can be really expensive or really hard to come by. With a miner contract, you don't need liquidity. And that's the big thing that miners solve. So that's what the product is. The product is a miner. You take your BNB, you deposit it, you get solar panels back, and these solar panels work to generate power, and you can either compound it or sell your power back to BNB. So that's how the mechanics behind the protocol works. Now, what we do is we then take this concept to new levels. So what we're currently developing is we're developing a metaverse and a launchpad. Within the metaverse, we'll be featuring a casino, and this casino will be accepting miner inputs as casino chips, as well as our solar farm token. And that will give a real use case to this miner concept, which is one of our standout features. That in conjunction with the launchpad is why we're ahead of the curve in terms of miners. So that's a little bit of an insight into how a protocol works.
Okay. I had a short look on your website, on your landing page, and everything that your project currently provides. So if I'm not wrong, the metaverse and the launchpad are currently in development, but your miner V2 is already out. Is this correct?
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. So miner V2 was launched just under 48 hours ago.
Okay, that's amazing. Since I'm not that familiar with the mining concept, I kind of get where you're going with it, since you explained it to me, and we had a project over in the past that also had a miner. But could you please answer to me, why do I have to go from a V1 miner to a V2 miner? What changed and why did you decide to do that change?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'll run you through a little bit, and then Zips can also take over, run through some of the more programmatically technical understanding of things. So V1 miner was a direct fork with very little change of baked beans, right? And we took that concept and we grew that V1 project into something with around 5,000 BNB in volume, reaching up to 1.5k BNB in TVL during a really poor market. And with miners as a whole, you've seen a lot of miners struggle, and we went up a lot in a difficult market, and a lot of miners have struggled. And there's a few things, a few reasons why that's the case. So one thing is inflation. Number two is whales having too much control of a protocol. And so, our ethos from the get-go is we want to take this miner concept and we want to continue developing it and improving it, right? So that's why we launched the V2. Now, what's different in V2 is we introduced a new concept called fresh value. One of the things in V1 was that, whales and people who get in early have too much control over a miner, and this is applicable to every miner. We've now got fresh value, which measures your net deposit into the ecosystem and your net withdrawal into the ecosystem. And by measuring that, we have what's called a Solar Guard fairness system, which is four mechanics that sort of work to make sure that things are fair and the TVL is growing healthy and that the profit is actually distributed between all members of our ecosystem and investors of all sizes. So if you want, I'd like to go a little bit more into detail into some of those concepts.
Just give me 1 second to make sure that we're on the same page of information. So with the old concept, me as a whale, as an early investor, I put in a low amount of money and I could cash out a very big amount of money because there were people buying into this miner after me.
Mm-hmm.
And with the new that won't happen anymore because you kind of count the dollar value that people spend into your miner and restrict them from cashing out too much.
That's correct. Yeah. So we have.
Then you can go on.
Yeah. So we have exactly what you said. So we measure it in terms of BNB. So in terms of BNB, we measure what people put in and how much they've taken out. They get 5 times their allowance to cash out, after which they face a 50% tax on what they cash out. Now, this tax doesn't go to us. It stays within the contract. It stays in the TVO, and it stays as funds for the community. And what this means is that it's more of an ecosystem for investors of all sizes, which is one of the feedback that we received in V1. And the way we want to approach our development is that we're trying to build a community here. We take feedback from the community. We ran polls on what people want to see improved, what people want changed. We took their feedback, we ran polls, and then we developed this new system with a lot of changes for V2.
Okay, I kind of like it because a lot of projects step away from ideas of the V1. I really like that you brought the concept to a V2. So my next question would be, if I cash out my maximum amount and I get that 50% fee, does that fee stick on my wallet forever, or will I go back to regular at one point and cash out the full amount again?
So with the fresh value concept, if you've taken out more than 5 times your fresh value, you'll always face a 50% penalty unless you deposit more to increase your fresh value. So that system stays in place just to make sure that no whale is abusing the protocol.
Definitely. If I pay into the protocol later on because I decide I don't want to have that fee anymore, how much do I have to deposit so my initial fee is gone? Or my fee after the 5 cash outs or after 5 times cash out, how much do I have to reinvest so I don't have that anymore?
So you'd have to increase your fresh value. So to give an example, if you deposited 10 BNB and you have 50 BNB as your allowance, so you won't face any fees up to 50 BNB, right? And after that, you'll face 50%. But your fresh value at that point will be your deposit 10 BNB minus what you've taken out 50 BNB, so a bit minus 40. So you have to put 40 BNB back to get it neutral, and then your fresh value is reset, and then you can face no sell percentage.
I'd
No,
like
fact-
that. I'd like that on the
yeah,
end.
Zips, you can add to that.
So the allowance, which is the fresh value multiplied by 5, has two ways of increasing it. So the allowance has two ways of increasing it. Either you increase your initial deposit, which means if you've taken out how exactly how Alex taken out, let's say your initial is 10, and your allowance is 50, and so you've taken whatever you've taken. Let's say you've taken the whole 50, right? You're gonna have to put the 50 back and then deposit more. So that's the first way. The second way is referrals actually increase your total deposit because you brought value here. So the referral amount that you received, that actually goes straight into total deposit. Now, to increase this and register this, you must buy. So the allowance will be automatically increased. So once you get a referral, your allowance will just go up, right? And you'll get the rewards. However, you can also increase your fresh value through this method if you do a small buy right after, right? So if you bring some more value, you'll see that the person's the referrer you got, that will then add on to your fresh value as well. So you get a nice boost by referring. So that's the two methods.
I get it. So, Zips, let me ask you something. Since you touched a referral program, and I kind of like referral programs because they help on the marketing side. How does your referral program work in detail?
Okay, that's a good question. So our referral program works to incentivize and provide rewards for those who are the most dedicated in with investors within our ecosystem. So there's a 10% referral reward that you get for bringing someone in and them making a deposit. So when you bring someone in and they make a deposit, if they use your referral link or your QR code or just put your wallet address in the referrer slot and hit the button, if they use that and then buy, you will get 10% of their reward of how much they deposited as a reward. Now, the reason why it's done like this is traditionally miners, what they do is you get a percentage of what the deposit, and then you get a percentage of the compounds forever. And none of these things are penalized. You're just given it, right? What this means is someone can come along, someone with a large following, they can never invest, and they will always make money because their referrers will keep compounding and stuff. Our system works so that you only get the referral bonus on a deposit. So you do not get it from compounds that then goes on forever, because this is an abuse mechanic which I decided to nail down on, right? On top of this, if you refer and you do not bring any money to the protocol, so in other words, you refer people, and you can do this. You can refer people without being an investor. So you can just come along and decide to refer people. That's possible, of course, right? However, if you refer people and you're not an investor, what will happen is there will be a 50% penalty on the amount you withdraw. So what that means is for people who aren't investors and they are just referrers, they will technically have a 5% reward, right? However, if you're an investor and a referrer, you will get the full 10%. And so those who invest with our protocol and stick with the protocol, as you can see, they stand to make the most from the reward. And yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Where do the 50% go that won't be paid out if you are not an investor in the project?
So everything is always recycled back into the TVL. So in terms of values, they just don't get it. If that makes sense, they just will not receive that part of the bonus, and they will stay within. It doesn't go to like any dev wallet or anything like that. I don't receive anything. No one receives anything.
Perfect. So I heard that you want to produce a launchpad. I think that's another question for Alexander. Alexander, I think the market saw a lot of launchpads in the last few months and the last year. Why do you think that your project needs a launchpad, and what does your project provide to the market that no other launchpad already provides to the market?
Okay, yeah, so that's a really, really good question. And it's really, it's something that really explains the concept of miners really well, right? Now, usually in a launchpad, who benefits the most? It's the whales. If you have a large amount of, tokens for whatever launchpad it is, you usually get more allocation and more profits, right? Now, within a miner, if you don't have much capital, but you actually, because with our miner you get a compound bonus, so if you continue to compound, you actually increase your number of solar panels, because every 3 compounds you get 1.5% bonus, so that stacks up to 15%, right? So if you're a loyal protocol user, you could actually start with very little capital, compound your way through, and actually hold a good amount of solar panels, which is one of the criteria to enter allocations for the launchpad. So we've actually here designed a system where if you're actually a loyal protocol user, you will still be rewarded even if you don't have much initial capital. And that just provides opportunities for everyone in an ecosystem, whereas normal launchpad projects, you only really get access if you meet that sort of minimum X percentage of large holders. And by creating a system like that, it means that, if someone isn't compounding as much as a smaller holder, they'll eventually catch up. They'll get the same amount of allocation, and that creates a much fairer system. And number 2 is that we have a lot of experience in this space in terms of what kind of projects succeed, and those are projects that actually add good intrinsic value to the ecosystem as a whole. And what I mean by that is, when you think of crypto, you've seen, even projects like Luna, they're very Ponzi-nomics, right? And they've collapsed. And that's because the rate at which a project is growing or inflating has to be smaller. So the value they bring into that project has to be greater than the rate at which a product is inflating whatever tokens or whatever metric it has. And now when we decide the criteria in terms of what product is going to launch with us, we want to be sure that project will offer that sort of, whether it's through utility, whether it's through revenue generating, the fact that they will be creating more value than they are minting out in terms of tokens. And what that means is that it's a safer, pre-sale investment for our users. It's a safer sort of project that we're promoting to our users as well. And yes, there's 2 key things there, our ability to assess tokenomic impact, and the fact that we've, through a miner, created a much fairer entry system for launchpad projects, which is why I think, this is a more advantageous launchpad than other projects.
I can add on to the end of that as well. So it's just to clarify something for those who aren't aware, how the development freedom Alexander gives me essentially means that I can pitch ideas to him all the time, and he can just say like yes or no, pretty much, right? And that's pretty sick, because that means I have the freedom to do a lot of things that I want to do, and if Alexander sees them as beneficial, he'll just give me the go ahead, and I can make whatever I want, right? And so the reason why you won't get as comprehensive an answer from Alexander regarding these things is because it's a little bit unfair, because it's technically he's being asked for information on an idea that I have pitched to him. So it's a bit unfair. So, but in terms of the launchpad, and he did a really good job at highlighting some of the key points. In terms of the launchpad, though, you asked why did we choose to create a launchpad while the market's already saturated with launchpads, right? My counter to this is that the market is saturated with bad launchpads, right? Launchpads that have really high fees, launchpads that don't vet the projects and let them through, launchpads where you go to invest in a project and for some reason you cannot even press the buy button because it's somehow filled so fast it didn't even show up on your screen. Things like these. So highlighting on that last point, our launchpad will include an anti-bot mechanism, right? So I will ensure that regardless of what the launch is, there will be an anti-bot mechanism in place, and so you will not be able to buy without doing it through the dApp. There is no way for you to go to the blockchain and buy through the blockchain, which means you cannot snipe the launch. What this also means is that if someone is going to bot a launch, they have to bot it like a human, if this makes sense. So they will have to do the exact same process as a human does. What does this do? This means because you've slowed all the bots down to human speed, you've given humans a fair chance, right? And therefore, it will be a completely fair whitelist or public pre-sale purchasing system. And that is one of the key features. Obviously, there's also the lower fees, the fact that you can pay with ecosystem-based currency, so either miner currency or token currency, and it's just overall offers a high level of synergy with our ecosystem. So that's why I decided to come up with the launchpad idea, and on top of this, our launchpad is technically already made. I made it like a couple of weeks ago. Well, I made it like on one of the days after we launched, right? However, we decided that the best way to showcase a launchpad is by having a successful premiere project come out first, do well, deliver upon all the features, and then that will reflect on us and the fact that we vetted the project properly, right? And so we are waiting currently on that project to finish all their stuff before we can launch. It'd be unfair for me to launch the launchpad and then people start launching, and our premier launch kind of has to launch like last. So that's why we're waiting on that. But in terms of it being done, it's finished, right? The metaverse is the thing that's currently in progress, and that's having a lot of progress being made on it every day.
So when you talk about the launchpad, you kind of give me the impression that you want to be that VIP, that gem launchpad. And you spoke about the vetting process for projects to onboard them. Could you maybe explain the vetting process a bit more? How do you think, or why do you think that you can be the one to make sure that a project or a product succeeds? What are the key factors that you look into in potential customers? And to add to that question, you told me that you are kind of on the fair side and depending on fees. What do you take from a customer, and what do they get in return from your launchpad?
Okay, so that's a good question. Okay, in terms of the vetting process, let me first outline how the structure of the launchpad will go, right? So there will be a section where there is launches that we've specifically vetted, and these ones are like a higher tier of launch, and so they will be in one section. The ones that we give our stamp of approval, secure, they'll be in one section. Then in another section, there'll be people who can just launch, whatever, like people can use it as a cheap launchpad, right? And this section will be ones where we say, this is just a cheap launchpad. If you want to launch a project, but you don't necessarily want to pay the increased fee for the vetting process, because we need someone physically there to read through your contract. We need people to go to your chat, have a look at what you guys are saying. We need people to talk to you, interact with you, maybe definitely going to hear your voice on calls and stuff like that. And we may even need a procedure in which we physically KYC with them and stuff. So like they KYC with us, and so we hold on to that information. And so these processes are what entitle the secure launches for that stamp, right? That secure stamp. So that's what we're doing in terms of the security. In terms of the fees, we're starting from, I believe we're starting from 0.5, or it was 0.25. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's 0.5 or 0.25 BNB for the launches respectively. So 0.5 for the vetted and 0.25 for the free ones, for basically like the ones that are free of security entitlements. So that would be the costs.
Okay. So yeah, that's rather on the cheap side. So what is the benefit for me as a project to choose your launchpad? We touched the aspect of anti-bot mechanisms. If I'm not wrong, there are a few launchpads out there that do it, that you can't directly buy from the contract, I think it is. But what does a customer get from your side? How do you help your customer on his first steps?
It's fair, it's cheap, it's fast, and we advertise. There's a baseline amount of advertisement that we essentially offer for them, as they are essentially they're coming into an ecosystem of products where there's already a customer base, and then launching there. So all of our existing holders, all of our community will see this project and have a visual of it, and they'll have the awareness for it. There's also announcements, etc. It depends. Also, you can purchase different bundles as well, and get advertisements. So it really depends how you want to go about the launch. But yeah, fair, cheap, and very effective for the money that you pay.
I just wanted to add that for our V1, we launched when Bitcoin was sitting at maybe like sort of 38, 39K, and it nuked all the way to the low 20s, and we kept growing. Community kept growing, and that's a huge testament to our marketing strength and our marketing team and the awareness we have of product as a whole. Actually, both Moneyfest and DeFi Gorilla have done a really good job, along with Zips as well. He's actually also helped a lot with marketing, and how we pay our developers is through dev fees, and Zips has gone, you know what, I'm not taking any dev fee, use it for marketing instead for a significant portion of the early stages. And we have that. Not only are we offering the products that launch through the vetted process with us are existing awareness, we're also going to be offering them our sort of consultancy services and how they can also maximize the outreach of the projects that they release. So like we're actually still just a couple of months old as a project, and Moneyfest went out and he got the wife of like a super famous footballer, Mauro Icardi. I don't know if you follow football much, but he's a well-renowned European striker. He's got his wife, who's got sort of 15 odd million followers on Instagram, as one of the influencers that are backing us. So it's that sort of awareness that we generate is a significant part of what we offer in terms of advantages for a product to launch through us as opposed to competitors.
That sounds very, very good, very solid.
Significant buybacks on both miners. So I did a 20 BNB buyback, I believe, on miner V2, only because we need to reserve some for marketing. We can't go crazy, right? And then on V1, I think we've done over 200 BNB worth of buybacks. So pretty much all the money that you'd expect me to receive is just all in the miner and everything towards the miner, because I think what Alex has done here is he's really given me an opportunity to showcase myself, my skill set, and what I can actually do. And so you can see it here. We have a V2 miner with all these original ideas, the fresh value concepts, the solar guard system. Pretty much all of these, I was just given the freedom to create all of these ideas. And it was with the help of the community. Without the community's feedback in the chat, everyone saying, hey, this on V1, why is it like this? This other thing on V1, why is it like this? And me saying, yes, you're right. Why is it like this? Why did Baked Beans and those Baked Beans based miners do it this way? I agree, this is bad. And he just let me go ahead and patch everything up and do it the way I think it could be done. And ultimately, I think what we have here is a very good product.
So you as a dev, you were onboarded during the process of the project?
Yeah, so I was approached by Alex, who was interested in doing basically a minor project. He'd seen this sort of minor ecosystem. I wasn't as familiar about it at the time, and he just showed me around and was like, yeah, so these are the sorts of projects launching. In terms of what the potential of it that it can be is, he was very attracted towards the concept that essentially it's not exactly like this, but essentially your liquidity is your value, sort of thing, right? If you compare it to tokens. So tokens, they have a market cap and they've got liquidity. And obviously, as Alex said previously, the market cap isn't indicative of what you can actually withdraw from the thing. It can be worth 1.2 million total market cap, but if the liquidity is 50K, it doesn't matter if you have 500K, you're not withdrawing it. It's not happening, right? Unfortunately. But with a miner, the value, the TVL, the total value locked, is the actual value the protocol holds. And so that is an indicator of up to what you can withdraw, obviously. Obviously you can't do that, but you know what I mean. It's much more honest and transparent and shows it's a much fairer system. And so he approached me and said, what do you think we can do here? And we went through some ideas. I said that essentially I think the smartest thing that we could do is we need to build community trust, right? So we should do something with the original Baked Beans miner, not make too many modifications to it because that would be compromising the entire process. And it's already audited. We'll take it out. We'll do it good. We'll do it better than the people we see around us. And I think we were successful at that. At the time we launched, we've survived longer than any other project that launched at the same time as us and was based on Baked Beans. Not only that, we had a higher TVL than all of those guys. So we've satisfied that requirement. And then after that, I saw a lot of feedback in the chat, people asking for a V2 and stuff like this. And so I thought, I think it's time we should do a V2. I told Alex, I'm going to start building a V2, and we went from there.
Yeah, that sounds very good.
I have some questions about basically the fresh value. I think it's a little underrated. I think it's a powerful tool. But I do see a difference between the fresh value and the deposit value. I also was wondering, once you take out, right, you withdraw, let's say your fresh value is 10 and you were to withdraw 5. So now your fresh value will turn to 5. Does your allowance also change to 5?
No, so that system would be. So let me explain why it's not like how you said. Because if you did it so that your fresh value decreased, then your allowance would decrease by a factor of 5 every time you withdraw, which is completely unfair because that means after the first withdrawal you do, let's say you withdraw a little amount, you will lose 5 times the amount that you know from your allowance because your fresh value is decreased. What fresh value does is it stays the same as your basically the value you've brought into the protocol. To calculate this is the formula that you're aware of. Now the allowance just decreases. It's set and it decreases and increases based on how much you've withdrawn and how much more you deposit. If you ever look into the contract, you can see the exact mechanism. I don't want to waste your guys' time and go too much into it, but essentially that's how it works. Fresh value tracks how much you've actually brought to the protocol. Just don't worry about how it does it. It tells you how much you've brought, and allowance tells you 5 times how much you've brought to the protocol minus how much you've taken away.
Gotcha. All right. And what about the deposit amount?
So the deposit, that just tells you how much BNB total you deposited in, and there's another one. It says total sold, for, 2 cards along, and that will tell you how much you've sold in total. It's just a metric track for you.
My misunderstanding, I guess, is why the deposit and the fresh value aren't the same. You would think that they would be the same, right?
No, because if you just sell 50 BNB and then deposit it back, then your total deposit would be. So let's say you had 50 BNB, then you sell 50 BNB, and then you deposit it again. Your total deposit would be 100, and your total sell would be 50. But this is a lie, because then if your fresh value is 100, you've just bewitched the entire system by depositing 50, withdrawing it, depositing it again, the same 50, and now you magically have 100. That would be completely unfair.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the amount brought to the protocol. You get rewarded by how much you have brought in that didn't exist already in the protocol.
Understood.
A question to ask. Yeah, I have a question to ask, my friend. The exchange rate. How far does the panels per BNB go down, or it depends on buys?
It depends on buys, correct. So it's essentially, the previous system, if you're familiar with Miner V1. So this is Stephen Russell. This is one of our top shillers. I think he came in to offer a good question for us. So thanks, Stephen Russell. You're familiar with V1. V1 essentially, and this is a baked beans based miner, essentially had a system that was inflationary brackets deflationary. Now, why brackets deflationary? Because when you bought, the only reason the panels value got more expensive, and so the number went down, right? Numbers per BNB went down, which is more expensive, is because the formula that calculates how much you should get divides by the TVL. And so if you add more TVL, logic would dictate you would just get less, so you'd get less for your money, right? Because the fraction will just give you a smaller number because you've increased TVL. However, the actual how would I say it? The total supply behind the scenes didn't actually change based on the buy. It didn't change at all, right? However, when you sell or compounded, that supply behind the scenes did change, and what it would do is it would inflate. And this was the whole purpose of this, was to incentivize buys. So that's how these previous miners used to do it. They used to incentivize buys through that inflationary mechanic. Now, this was a flaw of the system because if the inflation got out of control, then it skyrockets up, and you start having people that, let's say they just bought and now it's, send it up crazy amounts. Now they're immediately, and I think you're aware of this, the ROI is up to then that number with these old miners. It's up to that number, right? And so you'll quickly see that your ROI will fall from that number and tend towards, like 1% or something like that. And that's not that good. That's not very sustainable. It doesn't, completely defeats the purpose of this sustainable miner. With this new miner, we have true deflation and true inflation. So depending on the way, depending on if there's buys, sells, or compounds, that supply will actually fluctuate. And that's why for example, you never saw a panels value like this low on a V1 miner. You never saw 544 panels per BNB. It's because this is actually deflationary, and that's why it goes down. Now, to add to this, there is a dynamic dampening system for all three of these concepts, right? The buy, the sell, and the compound. What we have the ability to do is if we notice overwhelming pressure in one direction, whether that be buy pressure or sell pressure, we can counteract the deflation or the inflation by decreasing or increasing these dampeners. And that allows us to manage pretty much the entire inflationary and deflationary system. And we can do this algorithmically.
Okay, I want to ask a question. I'm curious about this, right? In terms of inflation, when the panels per BNB decrease, do you have a set amount that it cannot pass, like for example, 200 panel per BNB? Does it have a base amount that
So
it
there
has
is
to
no
cap?
constraint on the max and minimum supply. Is that what you're saying? So yeah, there's no constraint on the max and minimum supply.
Okay, that is very interesting.
If I can jump in here for a second, if somebody
Sure.
of your team has the knowledge and the will to do so, we got an amazing amount of questions in the chat. I don't think we can touch all of them, but maybe somebody can start giving answers to the people in the chat. And Ethan, could you maybe choose 3 of the best questions so we answer them on VC as well? Because I think the project has still some parts to touch. I think that you still have the metaverse, and isn't there a casino aspect also to the project, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah, correct.
So
Yeah,
Absolutely
that's
right.
correct. Yeah.
please,
So
Ethan,
based,
note down the questions, and we can have another 2 more questions in the voice chat. Then we touch these topics, and at the end we will have the questions from the chat as well.
so one more question. So panel per BNB can go as low as 100 panel per BNB in terms of inflationary decrease.
So that's deflation, Rene Peters. Instead of saying inflation, it's just deflation. You can call it deflation.
Yeah,
So if it went to one,
deflation. Yeah.
yeah, if it went to 100 pounds per BNB, that would be deflationary. However, it probably won't get that low because the dynamic dampener system will kick in way before then. Because so how that would well, the implications of that is that's very expensive. You know, it's a bit too expensive. In terms of incentivizing new buys, and so we would just change the dampening system. So it would be far harder to hit, for example, 100 or 50 or 1, you know, 1 panel per BNB, right? So yeah.
I like the
Fair
most.
enough. I like the concept. The concept is very interesting.
Thanks,
Like
Rene
the most.
Pete, for
Thank
sticking
you
with us.
very much.
The panel slash BNB at 700, and it's at around 500 panels per BNB now, and that is awesome because it gives the small investors like fighting chance to like catch up and to gain like profit and stuff like that.
Exactly right. So, for example, remember let's go back to V1 real quick. You remember when people would sell a lot and then some people would buy back, and people would be in like a good amount of profit for a short time because it would get wiped away by insane amounts of compounding because people were like, wow, profits, more money, more panels, get me more, right? And so it would be very top heavy. The people with the most just kept getting all of it, and so it would be so unfair. That's why we've added in place these, for example, the compounding cooldown. So you can't just spam compound and get as infinite panels, and then as well the cells are restricted, so you can't like go crazy on it, right? And then the underlying inflationary system is balanced, and I want to touch upon that. It's a balanced system, and that's what we wanted to out of this. We didn't want it to be like too much this way, too much that way, or like change the system. We thought this inflationary system was already kind of good because it did work for what it was intended to do. However, we decided that well, I decided that you should change the purpose of it. It shouldn't be used any longer as a buy incentive. It should be used to actually manage the supply as it's meant to. It should be the quote unquote market maker formula. And so I turned it back into an actual market maker formula that's fair.
So in terms of being deflationary, about 400 to 500 panels in BNB would be like where it stops in terms of deflation, or won't go any
Well,
further to
you
300.
can't physically stop it. You cannot physically stop it, but it would just be dampened. So yeah, it probably wouldn't reach those like that low of a level.
Okay,
Unless,
okay.
for example, someone buys, I don't know, like 1,000 BNB at once, which you can't really stop them then, so yeah.
I have a
Okay.
question from the main chat. I'm going to
Yeah,
read
we have a
off.
lot of questions in the main chat, and we will take some of them and answer them. maybe we can just go forward now and have another question round at the end of the presentation, so we get a complete overview, and then I open the floor to everybody and we can just ask questions as long as the project has time to be here.
I think that's a good idea, because I think most of the I think this conversation we're having, most of the questions get answered if people just listen into it, because you're asking pretty good questions. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's do it like that. Let's switch over to the metaverse. I think that's the next exciting topic we can touch. And like I said earlier, in the end, we just open the floor and everybody has the time to ask questions. Who of the team will be presenting the metaverse to me?
I think both myself and Zips can handle that.
Amazing. So what is your metaverse all about? Why did you decide to do your own metaverse in comparison to joining already existing metaverse? And what can your metaverse provide to the market that we don't already have?
Good question. So why do we start the metaverse? It's, again, to do with sustainability, right? Now, what we want to do is we don't want the ecosystem just to be about, we need to keep getting in new buyers who then reward old buyers. That happens in 99% of crypto projects. It's just not sustainable. How do we solve that issue? We have a metaverse, which is, the main aspect of the metaverse is a metaverse casino. Now, just like any casino, so if you take a normal casino, at the end of the day, they have their customers come and play. People buy casino chips with dollars if you're in Las Vegas or something, and at the end of the day, the casino makes a little bit of profit, right, from the house edge. Now, what do? We do the same thing, but we incorporate both the compounding aspect, BNB deposit, as well as the solar farm tokens into the casino, and then at the end of the day, we make profits in terms of BNB and solar farm token, right? The profits that we make from the casino then go back into the miners TVL. Both V1 and V2 will be supported in this aspect. Now, what that means is that it's not always requiring new buyers. It's more so people play the casino, and the casino's house edge will actually funnel through and generate profits for the miner. So having this utility is a critical aspect in how we are essentially building a product that's more of a long-term perspective based rather than short-term perspective. Number two, go with our own metaverse. Essentially, we have at the start of the project, when I wanted to sort of explore this miner concept, I've got Zips on board and a couple of other developers. They're working on the metaverse and they've also done a really good job. Now, we haven't needed to, because Zips has done everything by himself, right? Usually, to build a product of this magnitude, something that's generated this much volume, you need a team of developers, and that can be quite expensive. However, Zips, as the sole developer, has gone ahead, he's built the contract at the front end and the back end. So he's built the contract and the dApps all by himself, V1 and V2, over the last couple of months. And that's actually allowed us to free up some funds to actually hire metaverse developers who can actually build a metaverse that's more tailored to our vision of what we want in the metaverse, as opposed to just incorporating with another metaverse. So that's to answer your second question. And I forgot what the last question was. Could you?
The last question was, what does your metaverse offer the market or the investors that we don't have yet? What's your special? Why should I join your metaverse, or is it just for investors of your token?
So our metaverse is actually going to offer casino games with a more balanced odds. So I don't know if you've come across either Crash or FOMO 3D. They're really, really popular games, and we're actually going to more so focus on generating high volume and give better odds. So it's a better experience for anyone coming in to play the casino, and that should drive more volume into the casino and into the metaverse, as opposed to competitive casino in the metaverse. And then that redistributes a good amount of profits back in as well.
Okay, so you kind of want to lower the house edge and give more chances to the investors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah, and it's also good to have more multiplayer content as well. So we're bringing in multiplayer poker as well. That's in phase 4, phase 5. So it just has that sort of, it enhances and sort of amplifies that community vibe that anyone can go in. You can, sit and chill and play a game of heads up with your friend and hopefully win. So it just gives that extra sort of community building aspect as well.
Yeah, additionally, in the metaverse, there's also the ability to manage your solar farm. So you can actually just manage your solar farm inside the metaverse, all interactive. You've got like a nice star field. You can see so the metaverse is based on the moon. So like on the moon, you have your solar panels, you have the sun, and then you beam the energy back to Earth, and you can manage. You can do your compound sales buys all within the metaverse. So it's a very inclusive place, and the intended purpose of the metaverse is to grow it out and make it like a true virtual world. So the casino is the first step with the casino, and the solar farm management is the first step, and from there we'll keep going further and further and further. Again, I think you've noticed it, that inclusivity is one of the core concepts of this entire protocol, right? And so not everyone is interested in a casino. Not everyone is interested in interactive solar panel farms. So we will keep going. We will offer things to people, different types of competitive games, such as, not to tease too much, but like for example, shooter games that are in VR, racing, all this different stuff. That is just, it's more inclusive. It means everyone has something in the metaverse that they can do. It gives everyone a reason to hop in. And overall, the metaverse, it's one of the concepts that we think is a good idea to implement within the miner ecosystem as well, is this sort of like gamification, right? People are satisfied when they go to the dApp and they hit that compound button, right? And you want to give them that pristine, that feeling, right? And just to tie the knot, we thought it was a perfect idea to obviously make an actual game, so that it's like it feels exactly how it is. You come here, not only do you make money, you have some fun, right? And so that's how it should be. You should be enjoying yourself.
So in the casino, I will play with your token. Is it your token that I need to invest into the slot machine, into the gambling machine, so I possibly get some winnings out there? Or is it in BNB? On which chain is it?
Well, you basically, how it works is the casino has its own currency. It's not a real currency like a blockchain currency. It's just casino chips, right? So you exchange your tokens for casino chips, and they have different rates for different things. For example, compounding will get you a rate, or there'll be a specific compounding built for the casino in our case, right? So there will be an update to the contract, and that will offer casino compounding, and that casino compounding mechanism will then get you the casino chips. And then in terms of the solar farm tokens, you can also use those to at their own rate to get poker chips, and then you can also pay in just BNB, right? And here's the cool concept behind that paying in BNB, that and this is an idea of Alex's, right? And that's that if you're able to pay in BNB for casino chips, sorry, someone's mic's on. If you're able to pay in BNB for casino chips, then what that means is people will always choose the cheapest option to get casino chips, right? And so the cheapest option most likely will probably be our token, right? Our token will probably be the cheapest option, or the token or the compounding. What this does is it means people will continue to buy the token to convert casino chips, and if they do this, they will continue to do this all the way up until the BNB cost of the poker chips. And what that does is it essentially creates a soft peg, because people are going to keep buying the least valuable, the cheapest asset until it eventually becomes either equal to or greater than the next, the next cheapest. If that makes sense.
I can see that aspect. I think I even read it somewhere, and I saw a first video of the metaverse of your project on, I think it was YouTube, with the solar panels in front of the window. It looked clean. So I can recommend to all the listeners, check out their YouTube. They have some nice videos on there, and you get kind of a feeling where they want to go with the metaverse. So since we're talking about it, the metaverse is already in production. I saw a first demo. When can investors expect the metaverse to hit?
So I'll let Alex answer this one. In terms of myself overseeing it, so I just oversee all the development and stuff. I don't necessarily give the people timelines and stuff, because I'm a bit outrageous with my timelines. I'll tell someone to do something within 24 hours, and they'll just say they can't do it. And that's like, I'm someone who likes to develop things like quick. Like this dApp took me very quickly. It was, I think, half an hour to do the base dApp the first time, and It's just not that long. Contracts, they take a couple of minutes. It's not like I like being fast with stuff, obviously, and it's kind of bad because I would try and rush people beyond their capabilities, and so that's why I'm not too hands-on with the metaverse.
But I guess it's better than the way around. So having a dev that actually wants to work is a big plus for each project. But go on, Alexander.
Yeah, from a release perspective, so the priority here, especially with the casino, right? Because at the end of the day, casinos are where people are gonna, be investing their money into games to try and win. We want to make sure that the priority is absolutely to deliver it correctly the first time, right? And at the moment, we have the models built. We're currently in the stages of, so our developers are figuring out a couple of character conflicts. So once that's sort of ironed out, we'll have a more definitive timescale to announce the metaverse. But yeah, the priority here is to just make sure that, when we deliver the metaverse, that it's absolutely correct and up to par with what we want to release.
Yes. So there is no current release date yet.
Not at the moment, but our sort of timeline at the moment is within the sort of next 4 to 6 weeks.
Perfect.
I think it's also important to mention that one of the lead developers for the people that we're using for the development side of things, one of them has encountered some form of difficulties. We're not entirely sure what these difficulties are. However, we're being told someone has died, and so as in the person has died. So we do have -1 person then working on it, and that's why these conflicts starting to build up. But that's not too. That's fine. It will get ironed out, and we'll get right back on our work rate.
Like over delivering and under promising is the way to go anyway in that space. And I really like that you don't give me a certain date. If you don't know it yourself, why would you? Thank you very much. I think there is only one topic left for me that I want to touch myself, and then I will just open it to all the other people in here, and I hope we have some nice conversation for the rest of the AMA. The last topic that I want to speak of, and I think you also brought one of your team to our launch today to talk about it, is the marketing side of the project. We already heard about your ambassador on Instagram, but please maybe give us a short view into your marketing planning. You don't have to give up us all the secrets, but still, how do you market your project, and where do you see the market that actually buys into the project?
I would just say before Charles speaks, just a quick summary of it is working like an absolute demon and talking to as many people as physically possible, hearing all the, you're filtering through all the BS, the fake requests, people asking for $500 and then for some reason then asking for $1. It's like all this mess. That's what the marketing is actually going through. So before he explains, I thought everyone should know that.
Yes. So is there somebody that wants to speak with me about the marketing side of things?
Are you here? Can you speak? I think maybe he's disconnected, but I can fill in. So basically, how Char's been. So we have two key marketers. We have both Char and DeFi Gorilla. DeFi Gorilla, you guys might have heard of. He's a sort of common name that goes around in crypto. His professional working background is in marketing. He's marketed for certain sort of a few large corporations like Pepsi and I think other fast food franchises, as well as a business development manager. So his primary role as a marketer is to be the sort of strategic partnership building and more so contacting influencers and such, particularly on Telegram. Char has been, going around scouring through both YouTube and Twitter to essentially get the best value for our money and also get the maximum outreach. So a lot of YouTube-based influencers. So if you just go on YouTube and type in Solar Farm Miner, all you'll pretty much see is our project, and that's a lot of that is thanks to Char and how many influencers he's not only contacted, got good prices with, and have developed a relationship, a working relationship. So a lot of the YouTubers, they posted us multiple times, and that's just due to how Char has approached things and the quality of the product as a whole. So yeah, our primary form of marketing has been through YouTube, Telegram, and Twitter-based influencers. But the biggest thing also is that it's a project that rewards you on referrals, right? So that word of mouth aspect also has really been emphasized, taken on board, and our community as a whole have also really expanded the project through referrals. A lot of people in our protocol have, deposited a fair few amount, a couple of beans, but just because of how effectively they've referred people, they've actually come out with, 5-figure dollar values just from that. So there's a lot of money to be made in terms of just introducing people to the protocol, educating them on the concept, and things like that. So our primary marketing strategies are influencer-based, targeting them on YouTube, Twitter, Telegram, as well as word of mouth.
As well, there's also TikTok, Instagram, pretty much every platform that exists for socials. Our marketers are on those platforms, right? And it's essentially they just look at what synergizes well and what engagement you can get from what places, the rates, everything like this. And the biggest thing is we aren't stingy. So if something just costs a lot and there's no physical way possible to get it down, we will just pay for the thing, right? And so it's costly, but it's effective. So we do spend a lot of money. If you have a look at the miner ecosystem as a whole, like as in the miner space, the actual competitive space, you'll find that there's miners, that are in our similar area territory, and they don't do any marketing. They just rely on the referrals to carry their project. And we thought this is, we think the investors deserve a little bit more than that. That we should really be putting in the work and making sure that something they invest in really gets shared out there and gets the exposure it deserves.
Absolutely. Any partnerships on the marketing side that you want to have in the future? Any possible partners that you're currently speaking of? I just have your website open and scrolling through everything. If I find some last questions before we open the floor, but definitely partners would be something that gets me interested. And also maybe if there is any plan on having NFTs within the ecosystem.
Okay. Good question.
So first and foremost, we are in talks with a couple of sort of 7 to 8 figure market cap products about collaborating, and that's mainly sort of upon metaverse release, because there are a lot of big metaverse products. We're not at the moment allowed to say who and why, but yeah, those will sort of be revealed as the metaverse starts rolling out. I think your second question, what was your second question again, sorry?
The second question was just if you ever plan to integrate any NFT-related content or NFT-related games to the metaverse or to your project in general.
Yeah, so one key aspect that we think is kind of cool and want to take forward is within the metaverse, you have your own characters, right? And something that's actually been really successful in the gaming industry as a whole is customizability. So like having those NFT skins and character releases is something that people usually get super hyped about. So the answer to your question is yes. So once we've rolled out our core set of casino games that we want to roll out, as well as the miner interactivity feature, we'll then be looking to sort of introduce NFTs in the form of customizable characters, customizable skins. We have a cool bar area, so maybe some incorporation there as well. So yeah, that's the sort of aspect of metaverse incorporation that we're looking into.
Yeah, that's definitely something I would love to see, because that was the first thing that came to my mind when I heard metaverse. I kind of thought like NFTs, but I didn't find any. And the partnership thing is just something that I would love to give you on the way. I think it's something that a lot of investors actually look out to. If they find decent partnerships, their trust into the project definitely grows. Besides that, I want to thank you very much for taking the time answering all my questions. And now we can go to our community site, and I would love to have Ethan read the 3 questions from the chat to the people, so you can answer them first, and then we open the voice chat for everybody, and everybody else can ask their questions if there are some left. Ethan, can you hear me? Are you there?
Yes, I am, Phil.
You are. Did you? Do you have some questions for the project from the chat?
Yes, Emily has been doing a great job of tracking a few of them. Emily, they're adding you in the main chat. I can see a little bit.
Let me have a look.
Let me see.
Yes, I actually took a few screenshots of. There's like a handful.
Gotcha. Do us if you could do us a favor and read one of those off. I'm sure some of them have already been answered, the ones that were earlier on, but I'd love to see one of these screenshots if you could send that.
Here's one. Question.
I see Alex Acosta. That one's good. And wonderful AMA though,
I have
guys.
seen a large investor
Loving this.
whales can buy large amounts of tokens scaring an author, which gives them manipulation powers over the token. What solution does Solar Farm offer to stabilize the use of the token and avoid harmful manipulation?
I think we touched that, how to avoid harmful manipulation. This is because of their cashing out system. After 5 times your initial, you need to add in to the miner again. If you don't do that, you will get a 50% fee, and the other 50% run back into the project, or they just don't get cashed out. If I answered this correctly for the project?
Yes. That as well as we have an anti-dump feature as well. So if you sell equal to or more of your fresh value in one transaction, you get a 50% tax and a 10% panel reduction. And so this is designed to, if you want to take out 10 BNB, it's better to, it's more healthy to just consistently take out 2 BNB as opposed to just dumping it all at once, right? And if you do dump it all at once, you get a panel reduction penalty, which means that you just have less influence over the protocol. So these are 2 critical components in how we mitigate abuse.
Amazing. Thank you very much for once again checking in. Emily, do you have another question for us?
Yes, I do. This one's from Chief Lyricist.
Oh yeah, Chief Lyricist.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
How do you get money to push the project to the point that knowingly full well you're just about to launch? Are they coming from your personal and team pockets? And if so, what is the guarantee that the money of the investors will not be used to refund the money that has been spent during the course of the project so far? Are you also investing in the project? And if so, will the team's wallet be transparent enough at least to a reasonable extent?
Yeah.
I'll answer at least from my. I can't talk about other people's investments because I just don't know. So I would say, in terms of the entire team, everyone would have to be responsible and speak for themselves. However, for myself, I believe as a developer, you shouldn't really invest into your own projects because there is way too much responsibility in terms of managing an investment as a developer that it's not worth it to even have that as something that can possibly go wrong. It's just not worth it. Why? Because what if your wallet gets compromised, right? A developer can never sell on their own project. If the wallet gets compromised, doesn't matter how, if someone comes to your home, anything, it takes your wallet and, for example, sells on the project, that's the project over. And so you wouldn't want a risk like this at all. And so from my perspective, in my projects, I never invest. And so there's never any reason to FUD that the dev's selling or something like this. And so from me, I have no investment in the project.
Yeah, I think also you touched on how we use our funds. So we do our fees generated pay for both development and marketing. Zips, however, especially during the early critical parts of the project, basically gave up his development fees and said use it for marketing because he knows that he has the development skill sets to continue building and expanding this miner concept. And he said, look, take the marketing, get this product out there, and that's worked out fantastic for us in terms of how we've continued to grow. We've got a massive community, and yeah, we continue to sort of use that marketing funds effectively just by the fact I think Char posted earlier that the kind of people that we're getting on board is just fantastic. And in terms of transparency, everything is like you guys all know. Like you can check out what's our marketing wallet, what we've been spending on, and the results sort of speak for themselves. Because we've got arguably one of the best marketing teams in the platform. We continue to grow when the market as a whole is dying completely. Solar Farm just kept going up. When Bitcoin dumped over $10,000, we went up over 1,000 BNB in TVO and continued to grow. And a critical part of that is the effectiveness of our marketing team. So we will continue to utilize that budget in the best way possible.
It shows in your very active community. It shows that you guys are using tactics, your marketing strategies, and also just your clear communication with the community to to keep that driving force. Amazing work that you're doing.
Yeah, thanks. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so we've continued to deliver for our community with all the feedback they've given us for V1. Zips has gone away. He's compiled that into a few ideas and used the community's input to develop something that everyone wanted for V2. So yeah, it's a really critical aspect on how we want to manage our project.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions, Emily, and for the answers from Alexander and Zips. I now want to provide the time to people in here in the voice chat. If we didn't touch something, just feel free to unmute yourself, ask your question to the project, but please be respectful with other people in here. Don't overshout each other because then we can't hear any question. But beside that, just feel free to unmute yourself. And if the project wants to add anything that I might have forgotten, then feel free to do so as well. Beside that, thank you very much for your time. It was amazing to speak to you, and you have a lovely project. It's pretty rare that you have people coming in here with a V2 and being very positive about it, having learned from the past experience and just going on with the project. It's nice to see that.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, thanks for that, Phil. If you guys have any questions, fire away.
I think Moses just unmuted himself, so Moses might have a last question.
Okay, good evening.
Hi, Moses. How are you doing?
I'm good. Okay, this is a lovely project, and basically my question is a simple one. We all know about the bearish nature of the market presently, and my question is, how does the solar farm miner changes the landscape of the cryptocurrency space in the long run? How does it affect it, either positively or negatively, so to say? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a really good question. And the first and foremost, what we found is that we're actually a really good hedge against the market because we continue to grow when the market's performing poorly. And that's a really good indicator of something you should hedge into in the market. Number two, the level of innovation we're bringing to the table, taking this core concept of what is a miner, something that doesn't require active liquidity, and then developing that into a much more robust miner with V2 is something that adds a lot of value to both the BSC ecosystem and to crypto as a whole. What we expect is that, once this really takes off and has a lot of steam, and once we hit over 10,000 BNB TVL, a lot of people will be looking to fork our contract and development. So, that's a kind of impact, that we expect to have in the landscape as a whole.
Perfect. Thank you very much for answering this. Moses, is your question answered? Everything fine?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
I think this was a yes. Yeah, thank you very much for being with us. And I think we can conclude here. Thank you very much for your time, Alexander. Thank you very much for your time, Zips, and all the other guys from Solar Farm Miner that joined us.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best for your project. I'm in your chat. I will definitely do a bit more research on it. And if you have any major updates, always feel free to come back to our space. We want to provide a home to all the projects that come to us, and we want to update our community as well.
Mostly,
Thank you.
Appreciate the interactive nature of the AMA. It's one of the first, I think it's the only AMA we've had where someone shows up on video. It's quite welcoming. So thanks a lot.
yeah. We're going
Phil,
to.
yeah.
Guys,
Yeah, the questions are also pretty good. Usually we go to for a lot of AMAs, it's feels quite scripted, but I feel like this was very entirely organic. So yeah, pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, we are all about organic growth, and we really love to stay in touch with, like I said earlier, the projects that we did. And also, please, send me all the media that you have in my Telegram DMs so we can use that for the video, because our chat got rather messy and I don't want to miss out on anything that we could show of your project. So if that's okay, just come to my DMs after the AMA and send me all the graphical or video content that you can provide.
Great.
Nice.
Amazing. Thank you
And
very
I want
much.
to add,
Say
just
something.
Alexander, we will be doing a follow-up with you. Zoomin, our COO, will be reaching out to you tomorrow. So I hope that you can make some time for that. We just love to follow up with the projects that come on here. So thank you so much again. And we're going to do a giveaway a little bit afterwards. And if your community would like to participate, we'd love if they did. So I think, PJ, you were going to say something?
Yeah, so we released an announcement just now for everybody. We're gonna start doing our duck races, at the end of this AMA. So we're just kind of waiting. So yeah, the task is 10 people who like, retweet, and comment what they think about, the solar farm miners, what they thought about the AMA. Let's say any questions, any additional questions that were not answered. Comment it in the Twitter post. And then reply to 3 people, and then reply done to the announcement. And then we'll begin our duck races.
Awesome.
Amazing. Ethan,
And
please
yeah,
don't forget to end the recording at the end of the voice chat. I will shut down my camera now and give you your well-deserved stage. Thank you for supporting.
Oh no,
and
Phil.
you did amazing. And I will just stick around a bit with you guys until we close the voice chat. Thank you very much for everybody being with us. We love to do that, and we plan to bring a lot of projects now to the launch, so you are always up to date on the current market situation. Thank you.
Woo!
Goodbye.
Yes. And Phil, thank you so much, man. You did an amazing job. I love your questions, the time you took. Very inquisitive, very well thought out, and I can tell that you do your research and generally want to bring good and full knowledge to our investors. So, Phil, thank you for that. And I'll end this recording right now.
I think I'm missing something from PJ, though. There is a little bit too less hype now in this chat. So, PJ, would you please be as kind and go for it?
Well, I was saving for this AMA to be over with.